Enjoy, everybody.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to be here again, conducting another great family-friendly workshop. And I'm really excited today because we are making paper flowers. I personally have always really liked making paper flowers, and I'm really excited to share with everyone this great little gift that you can make for people. It's great, especially since Valentine's Day is tomorrow, as a nice alternative to a normal Valentine. I also just want to quickly point out that if you are looking to make a really cool Valentine for someone and you want something a little bit different, please check out our two previous family-friendly workshops. The stamp making and the seed paper tutorial can give you a lot of cool ideas for Valentines. I have some examples. This is something I made during the stamp making workshop that could be great for Valentine's Day. And if you watch our seed paper tutorial, this is a great Valentine for someone. As you can see, the seed paper is in the middle, so the recipient could then plant the seed paper when they're done. So I'll just put that to the side for now. But before we get started, I just want to kind of go over the materials that you'll need. So you'll need some green construction paper. You'll also need some tissue paper of any color. If you don't have tissue paper and you'd still like to make these type of flowers, you can always make them with some parchment paper that you find in your kitchen. That works just as well. Also, those same types of flowers can be made with regular construction paper. They'll just have a little bit of a different look to them, and I'll go over how to do those as well. Also, you'll need a pair of scissors. You'll need some tape, or if you'd like to use some glue, but I personally like using tape. And if you'd like, first on some of the flowers, you can add details with markers. So if you have markers or colored pencils, those will be handy too. And then if you're also looking to make the seed paper flowers, you'll need some seed paper, which we went over in our previous tutorial. So you'll want to have some of that, and also some flower wire or any sort of sturdy thin wire that you have in your home. Today we will be making 3 different types of flowers, and I'll go over those exact instructions for those. There'll be 2 that can be used. You can use tissue paper or construction paper to make, and then the third, as I mentioned, is a seed paper flower. So without further ado, let's get started. So first, what I'll have everyone do is take their piece of green construction paper, or you could use whatever color you'd like. This is just what's going to be used for the stem. You're basically going to want to cut out a square shape to use this. I find it really helpful if you just take the piece of paper, fold it in half, kind of get where the center is, cut it in half. And the square that you make, it does not have to be perfect by any means. You'll just kind of want the relative size, and a great way to do this is to kind of fold it about a third of the way of the size of that half sheet of paper, and it kind of gives you, as you can see, a square. So I kind of make a fold right there. And you'll cut into a square shape. Like I said, this does not have to be perfect. As you can tell, this is not 100% perfect either, but it'll work great. Also, you will want to take any extra scraps of the green construction paper and set it aside, because we will be using it a little bit later on. So what you want to do first and foremost is take your green construction paper, and from any of the corners, you will simply start rolling it in. Now, the construction paper that I am using is a little bit thicker, so it's a little bit harder to roll, but with traditional construction paper, it is a little bit simpler. This, as you can see, I'm rolling from the corner inwards. You'll want to get it as tight as possible. And sometimes this takes me 2 or 3 tries to do, and that's totally fine, because even if you're rolling it and it's not as tight as you would like it, it does make the paper a little bit more malleable. So it eventually will get your paper to the size that you would like it. So I'm just rolling it in. Like I said, it's not perfect right now because my paper is a little bit stiff, but it's helping it along. And so I'm going to unroll it and go again to try to get it as tight as possible. It helps to do it on the table, but for showing you guys, I'm also doing it a little bit in the air, but you'll simply just want to roll in. And like I said, try to get it as tight as you can. It's totally fine if it takes a try or two. But essentially, you'll want to get it to be around the size of about a paper straw. You don't want it, you want it to be as tight as possible, like I said. And I'll just kind of help it along. And once it is fully rolled up, as you can see, there'll be a little tab that is left right here. And I'm going to use just some regular clear tape and take a piece about this size and take the flap and simply pull the piece of tape around to secure it. You can also do this by using some glue, like tacky glue or hot glue, but I find that tape works fine and you can barely see it now that it's done. So once you have your shape, your straw shape, you're going to want to take your scissors and cut the points off at each end. That way it gives it a nice flat top and bottom for your flower stem. So it should look like this. Try to, like I said, try to get it as small as you can, but also this size will work perfectly fine. So once you have that, you will set it to the side, and then you'll take any extra green scraps that you have, and you're going to want to cut a star shape out of this. I have drawn one on the back of this. I normally do star shapes that have anywhere from 4 to 6 points. As you can see, this is what I will be cutting, and you will simply take your scissors and cut out that shape. You can draw it out, or you can just freestyle it with your scissors. Any of it will work. What's really nice about making these paper flowers is that when you're cutting out the different shapes that are needed, these shapes do not need to be perfect in any way. It'll all come together in the end. So it's nothing that you need to stress about. As you can see, I'm just cutting.
And Julie, I guess you could use your paper scraps to make some seed paper.
You can, if you have watched our seed paper tutorial, any sort of paper scraps that you have can be used towards that. It's really great, especially if you have something like colored construction paper that'll turn your seed paper, whatever color that is. So if I use these scraps, I get a really nice green seed paper out of it. But nonetheless, once you have your star shape, you're going to take it and you're going to fold it in half and open it back up again, then fold it in half again in the other direction, and then once again. So you kind of essentially make a little bit of a cone shape then with the star in the middle. So it curves a little bit upwards. As you can see, it's a little bit curved, and you just do that by folding it in half from a bunch of different directions. So we'll take this and we'll set it aside and we'll use it later. So now that you have your stem and a little bit, the star shape is a little bit, to make it a little greenery at the bottom of your flower for some detail, you'll set that aside. And now we are going to move on to making the petals. So the first type that I will show is that you will be cutting out anywhere from 3 to 6 of these shapes of flowers. Like I said, these do not have to be perfect. They will be layered on top of one another to give the flowers a lot of texture. But essentially, I like doing the 4 petal flower And if you just cut out a shape like this, like I said, you can trace it out if you'd like to and cut along those lines on your tissue paper, or you can just do it freehand. That works well too. But this is the shape that we are going to want to go for cutting out all these different pieces of paper. Now, the sizes that you'll want is you can make it any size you want essentially, but you want to have them differ in size. You'll want one to be smaller and then go up in size gradually. So I'm just going to quickly show how I'm going to cut out a flower shape right now. I'm just doing it freehand. Like I said, it does not need to be perfect whatsoever. You'll simply I normally do 5 or 6 petals, but it's up to you. Anything less just kind of seems a little bit off, but that's kind of the sweet spot that I like to do. So as you can see, I'm slowly cutting out the shape that I would like. And like I said, you'll want to do that probably anywhere from 3 to 6 times. So you have, a variety of different sizes that are still this shape. So prior to this, I cut out all the rest of my, my flower shapes. So now I will show you all that I have. So I have what I just cut out, which is the biggest of mine. Then I have a 2, a 3rd, a 4th, and then a tiny 5th. So once you have those laid out, smallest to biggest, you're going to want to take your straight pins. Oh, I forgot to mention this earlier. You also want to get some straight pins that you use for sewing. These help, these will help secure your flower and bring them all together. So what you want to do is you'll want to take the pins, you'll start with the smallest flower, and you'll want to stick it directly in the center of the paper. If you're a little bit, if you're young and you haven't worked with needles before, just be really careful because they are sharp. You might want a parent to help you with this. But what you'll do is you'll just poke it through the center, and then you will push the tissue paper up to the center. And you want to continue doing that, going up in size. So then I'll take my next flower petal shape. Again, I'll stick it through the center, and then I'll push it up to the end of that pin. Keeping going with that, again, through the center. Until they're all on the pin, as if you're putting something on a skewer. So once you have them all on your pin like this, you're then going to take the green star shape that we cut out earlier, and you will take it and it's already been folded a little bit, and you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to stick the pin through the center of the green paper, and you are going to push it up so everything is collected at the tip of the pin. It's all secure, it's not going to go anywhere. Then what you will do is you will take the stem that you made earlier, and since we rolled the paper, what's really great about this is that you can then secure the flower with the pin in it to the inside of the stem. Since the paper is rolled, there will be a crease on the inside. It might take a second or 2 to find it, but you can kind of take your pin and run it around the edges until you find where there is the crease in the paper. And simply what you do is you then take the pin and push your flower down. And then what I like to do is I'll kind of bend the green paper a little bit to help give your flower some shape. But essentially, and then you fluff up the petals a little bit, and then you have your first flower. It's very simple. It's really fun. You can make them in all different shapes and sizes. Here's a white one that I made earlier. That's our first flower. Now, if you do this same flower by using construction paper, I'm going to show you how to assemble that. It's going to be essentially the same, but also a little bit different. Again, you're going to take some construction paper, cut out a variety of sizes, either 3 to 6 petal shapes, smallest to biggest, which I have already done previously. And essentially it's going to be the same process. What I like about using the construction paper is that you can also make details on it, whereas you can't with the tissue paper. So I will, for instance, take a marker or colored pencil, and I'm simply going to draw on the center of the flower, and you can color the flowers however way you like to give it a little bit more detail. But as you can see, this is just kind of the starting point. You can color the construction paper however you would like. I'm only just doing a little bit right now, but I have done others where I do a lot more coloring and it really gives it a lot more detail. So same thing, you're going to want to take a straight pin and you are going to then put it through the center and then continue to put the petals on. You're going to push it all the way through. You're going to grab another green star shape that you've cut out, and you are going to put that through as well. Once you have that all assembled, you'll take another stem that you've made, find that crease along the edge to secure it. And sometimes if you can't find the edge, flip it over because it might be a little bit tighter on the other side of your stem to help it be a little bit more secure. So once you push it down, it's a little bit flat, as you can see. And so in order to give it a little bit more personality, a little bit more detail, what I simply do is I take each petal one by one, starting from the innermost layer, and I simply just fold it up. I just fold it in towards the center. And I do this with each layer, with each petal, going around, giving it the shape that I would like it to have. Simply just folding it inwards. And then with these, once all your petals are folded in and you've given your flower a shape, you'll then do the same thing again with the green star shape at the bottom. Fold it in. Give it a nice little fold. And then you'll kind of arrange the petals how you like them if they're not in the right order, kind of spin them around. And there you have a more three-dimensional version of that. So I have a couple other examples. As you can see, I've done some details with colored pencils on these ones, but it really gives them a nice shape. And like I said, you can do this with any color construction paper. It's the same process. It just has a very different look than, say, the tissue paper flowers. So that's our first type of flower. So I'm just going to put these to the side. Now, our next type of paper flower, the process is going to be similar as to start out with. Again, you're going to want to make another stem out of your green construction paper. I have already pre-made one for myself. Again, want to make sure to cut off the ends so they're not pointy. And now what you'll want to do is, again, get another star shape. And instead of cutting out your petals like this 5-petal flower that we had earlier, you're simply going to want to cut 3 to 6 circles. For this one especially, I would recommend doing about 5 of these, ranging from smallest to largest. It'll give you a lot more texture, and I personally really love it. So I have already cut out my pieces of tissue paper for this. I have a small circle, bigger, And basically what you want to do to give these texture is you'll want to take your piece of tissue paper and you want to take your pair of scissors and you'll simply start cutting slits around the edges. You don't want them to be super deep. You probably want them to go no deeper than about this far into your circle, but you'll want to do that all the way around your circle. So you'll simply just go around the edges. They can be as close together or as far apart as you like, but this will give your flowers a really great texture and it'll look very different from the ones that we just made. Again, this is also a type that you can do with tissue paper or construction paper. So again, I'm just going to go around the edges, simply just cutting inward.
Julie, would you ever scent the paper?
You could scent the paper if you want. If you want to, spray.
I know I'm obsessed with essential oils. So every time you do a workshop, I got to ask about the essential oils, but you could like put, lavender scent on there. Like
definitely.
Really?
I would just probably spray them and let them dry before you start working with them. Or after you're finished, you just wouldn't want the paper to be damper or anything like that while you are working with it. But as long as
the oil, you wouldn't want it to like stain the paper. So like you're right, if you diluted it and sprayed it afterwards, oh my God, that'd be so cute.
Yeah, and if you're using the tissue paper, it might be better if you sprayed the construction paper stem because it's going to hold up a little bit better. Because I just have, I'm worried that the tissue paper would start wilting a little bit, but it could totally work. So once you have all your circles cut out and you have the slits going all the way around the circles, you're then again going to take a straight pin and you are going to stick them through the centers. So again, going smallest to biggest, putting them on your pins. You'll want them all on the pin, push them up as far as you can, and then follow it up with another one of those green star shapes that I showed you how to cut out. So stick that on last and push all the way up. Now what you'll want to do is you'll want to kind of bend up the edges or the green paper a little bit when you're holding it. And then you'll take your stem shape, again, find that crease and push it in. And then what's really fun to do with these is you can take your fingers and kind of really fluff it up in the middle to give it a lot of texture, especially the innermost layer. And you just kind of fluff it up, give it some 3D texture.
Julie, someone asked how well the pin stays in the crease of the,
If you roll it tight enough, it will stay perfectly fine. I have had no issues with these. I sent some to someone as a gift for Valentine's Day in the mail. They stayed intact. Obviously, these are for being put in a vase or something like that. So if once they're been assembled, as you can see, they are not really going anywhere. It's staying in pretty well. So I have made a few of these earlier, and as you can see, it does give a different shape, a different look with the circle pattern. And you can also, like I said, use construction paper for these. The shape is going to be different. I took some white construction paper and I actually colored it with colored pencils. So as you can see, there's a little bit more detail on the colored pencil ones, and it does give a different shape because it doesn't, it's not as malleable as the tissue paper, but it's still a great addition to your bouquet. So same process, just cutting out the circles. It's a great addition to the flowers that you make.
And I see that one of our participants is using patterned tissue paper, which is cool because then it gives, we have pink camo, which I love, and the polka dots. That gives it a whole different element.
Yeah, definitely. And so you can make as many flowers as you want of all different paper sorts and textures, but here's a bouquet that I have been working on of all different types. I've used construction paper on some. I've used different color tissue paper, but it really makes for a nice little bouquet that I put together. Also, I recommend that for these, if you have trouble arranging them, just stick some tissue paper in whatever vase or glass or whatever you're arranging them in, and it'll help give them the space to stand up and be the arrangement that you'd like. So essentially those are the tissue paper and construction paper flowers. So now we are going to move on to making seed paper flowers. Like I said, if you're making the seed paper flowers, you'll have to make the seed paper first, like we did in our previous tutorial. But these ones are a lot simpler since they will be 2-dimensional instead of 3-dimensional. But what I think is really great is that these bouquets not only are a great gift to someone on their own, but they're kind of 2 gifts in one, since then in the springtime, you can plant these and it can make essentially a whole other bouquet. So what you'll want to do first is you'll want to take your seed paper and you'll want to cut out a flower shape. I personally like using this 5-petal shape for these, or I've also done some lavender shapes and some flower bed shapes I will show how to do in just a second. But again, you'll either want to trace it out onto the seed paper, or you can just go in with your scissors. Also, please just note that with the seed paper, it is a little bit more delicate, so you'll just want to take your time while doing it. But you'll just cut out the shape of your choice.
Julie, what would you do with the seed paper scraps? Because
yeah, I have actually used the seed paper scraps for making more seed paper. So if you want to go that route, or you can just kind of collect them, and then when it comes springtime, you can just plant those as well.
We should do a time lapse of some seed paper that we plant.
I actually planted some of mine and it's already sprouting.
Oh, amazing. You'll have to put a picture up on our, we'll post a picture of that on our Instagram.
Yeah. So you want to cut out the shape of your choice, the seed paper. And then with the seed paper, I a lot of times will, I'll draw on them with ink, really make the center of it. I'm just going to do it a little bit fast. You can do as many or as few details as you would like. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. All right. So then you're going to take your shape and whatever you cut and however you decorate it, and you're going to flip it over. And you are simply going to take your floral wire, or if you have any other sort of wire, and you're simply going to lay it on the back and adhere it with some tape. Now you can either, any sort of tape should work. I personally have found that Scotch tape works, but it works a lot better than gluing it. So I normally put a couple pieces down to secure it. And if you don't like the look of having seeing the wire on the back, you can simply then trace your seed paper onto a piece of construction paper, cut out so it's the same shape, and then glue it with some white glue on the back to cover that up. But you can make all sorts of different shapes to make your bouquet. This is one that I have. As you can see, it has some more of these 5-petal flowers on it. I also, for Valentine's Day, have a little heart shape that I made out of seed paper. I made a lavender, and then I have these 2 little flower buds on the side right here. So what's really great.
Have you ever used pipe cleaner instead of the flower wire?
I have it, but it should work. That should also be able to work. It will be a little bit more flimsy, but what's great is when you make your bouquets, you can help your the wire stand up by, like I said, putting tissue paper in whatever vessel that you put them in. Um, like I said, you can put them in something like a vase or a jar, like I did with these. But with what I made for my seed paper flowers is very simple. You take an old can from some canned food, and you can just measure out a piece of construction paper that is the same height as it. Make sure that it'll fit all the way around your can. And then you can decorate it however you would like, with markers, by painting it however you'd like, and then glue it around the edges of it. I also glued some ribbon around the top and the bottom to make a really nice festive Valentine's Day base for it. But that's another way how to present your flowers. And really quickly, what I like about the seed paper is that it's not necessarily the shape. The shape can kind of change, not necessarily be perfect. It's more so gives you the ability to make some more details with your flowers. So really quickly, I'm just going to go over some shapes that I have in here for my seed paper flowers. Like I said before, the 5-petal flower, that is pretty simple, that we've all done before. That's a shape that I've done a lot. This can make a lot of great seed paper flowers. It's very sturdy. That's one shape that I like using. If you want to go ahead and draw the lavender, you just kind of cut along the shape of this, but basically you'll draw a line to make your stem. Towards the bottom of it, you're going to want to draw 2 petals coming off the side. So it's actually kind of like a heart shape down at the bottom. And then you'll simply draw 1 or 2 petals on the sides of the lavender, all the way up the stem. And then when you get to the very top of that stem, you're going to do a tear shape at the top. And then I like to do 2 on either side of it. So essentially that is the shape that you get. And you can draw that on your seed paper and it comes out looking really nice, as you can see right here. And then lastly, for the flower buds that I like to draw, it's really simple. You just kind of make one upside down tear shape like a petal. Then you make a second in the middle right next to it, and then a third to the side. And then in between each petal, I'll draw another little petal. And then you take from the farthest petal to the other side, right along the back, kind of like that, to go over the ends. And then sometimes I will put some detail on it. But essentially, then that is your little flower bud shape. And, you know, when you put it on the stem, it looks really nice. And I have a couple of these right there. But really, the sky's the limit. Whatever sort of flower that you would like to draw, these are just some of my go-tos. But seed paper is great because you can essentially make whatever flower you'd like, since it is 2-dimensional. But as you can see at the end of everything, I have 2 very different looking but really cute bouquets for people. And yeah, so essentially you can make as many as you want. You can let your creativity fly. Like I said, if you are making the first paper flowers that I demonstrated, the construction paper can look so much different than the tissue paper. And there's just so much room for creativity and just to give a really great alternative to a traditional Valentine. So
thank you. I love them. I'm going to switch over to gallery view, and just a quick reminder, we're recording and this is going to go on our YouTube channel. So just, if you don't feel comfortable having your camera on, please turn it off. But is anybody, let's see, we have a few people, look at that beautiful, we have some really awesome examples. I love the patterned The
Yeah.
patterned tissue paper.
That's so cool.
And Briar, I love how you did multiples in one. Do we have any questions? Oh, look, we have Sarah. That's beautiful. I love it. Does anybody have any questions for Julie?
On the pin, when
Yeah.
you're using the pin into the stem, can you put a dab of like hot glue or something on that if you don't feel comfortable with it just hanging there? You know, would that kind of hold it?
That would hold it. These do hold, like as you can see, this
Okay.
holds fine with the pin, but if you do want to secure it, what I would do is I would just plop a little bit of hot glue at the top of your stem, and before
Okay.
it dries, push it into that same crease. And that, if you're worried about it coming undone, that'll just kind of solidify it.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Great. Any other questions? Julie, I love this workshop.
I know, it's so fun. And I love it because I mean, I enjoy making these. I know as a kid, I enjoyed making them. It's literally fun for everyone, and it comes with a beautiful product.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This will be on our YouTube channel, as I said. So if you'd like to share it with your friends and family, please do that. And we have 2 other workshops that Julie has led that are really fun, also on our YouTube channel. And yeah, keep up with our newsletters. There will be more workshops to come. And Julie, thank you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful Valentine weekend.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.